Welcome back. We're talking food and future, and any discussion about food and future when it comes to sustainability has to include the topic of waste. Now, as we know that we do waste a lot of food, whether it's at the agricultural gate or it's in our fridge, and it's certainly in our hospitality sector. A lot of food that is prepared during the day is simply thrown out at the end of the day. So I'm talking to Donny Chien today from YWaste app. Now, Donny has brought us this brilliant app. It's been around for about 3+ years or so now, and
That's right. That's right.
yeah, it actually addresses what some of the issues around waste food. Welcome, Donny.
Well, thank you for having me, Dean. We're in such a digital economy now where, I'm sitting in Sydney. We connected over a conference that was digitally based in Melbourne, and you're in Thailand. And I think one thing is that doesn't matter where we are. What's happened is that COVID-19 has made us as all human beings have a deeper appreciation of sustainability, and also a deeper appreciation of trying to reduce food waste. So, what I believe. It's a human need. I don't think any of us want to waste food, but it's something that the commercial processes have desensitized it. And I think a lot of it is due to how we see food. If we see food as a commodity that can be discarded, then it's business and numbers first. But I believe that there's a public cost, there's a social cost, there's environmental cost that's not being calculated. So YWaste tries and calculates all that into place and tries to reduce the first world's dumbest problem, which is food waste. As we know, you may or may not know, 1/3 of all the food produced in the world, 60% of it, so 1/3 of all the food produced goes in the bin, and 60% of it's purely unsold. So it's stuff like bakeries, stuff like sushi shops, stuff like restaurants which have slow cooked food, and that at the end of the day, if no one orders it, it goes in the bin. Unfortunately, because there's only so much time your neighbors and your dogs want to eat the same food. So what we're doing is by digitizing a platform, and yet one of the biggest challenges is with food rescue is only 8 to 12% of food that's ever offered for charity is actually picked up because of the short-term lifetime of it, the fact that you need to get volunteers, logistics. So by using technology and connecting that, businesses, organizations, and charities who have spare food, to connect it to people, consumers, and also with consumer business people and people who need good food, you're actually reducing the environmental effects of food waste. The business organization, if they sell it, they get some sort of traction, they get some sort of return. They don't have to waste the bill of disposing of the food. And most importantly, it's one thing that's better for society.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, the way I see it is what you're doing is capturing that potentially wasted food to be wasted just at the last moment before it goes into the bin. So,
You're capturing it from the last moment with a perception that it will be there, and then you're getting people who are not as fast, whether they are picking up from a donation or commercial. And the whole idea of this is that it changes public perception, because no longer you go to the bakery at the end of the day expecting a full shelf. You go there with an expectation that, hey, I normally have sourdough, but today we've got some croissants. Okay, it's not or some chocolate. I'm willing to try this, and I'm willing to try something new. And I was saying in a radio interview yesterday, I get asked this a lot, like, what's your biggest thing in terms of culinary YWaste? Is that Moroccan food. So I never, I'm not, just to clarify, I'm not being paid by the Moroccan Food Society or anything, but as a Taiwanese Australian, I never really exposed myself for Moroccan food until we started developing YWaste. And then I found this food which you cook in a tangine, and it just does the most amazing thing when you put it there. So shout out to our friends at Moroccan Soup Bar. The bit of story is that I've been there twice. Every time in Melbourne, I go there, and I was so inspired from the first trip. I got myself a tangine on the way back. So the whole point of the story is to illustrate how having choice gives up a lot of power, because you try something that you never have tried, And also you open your palate and you ask yourself, you tell yourself, this food is amazing because it's got grains, it's got vegetables, and it could suit, it's kind of like Italian food. It can suit the Western palate, the Asian palate, which I'm a bit of both. And when we eat at the table, when you and I eat at the same table, we might have different experiences, but when we eat the same food, we share the same experiences. No matter what our background is, we share that experience together, and we have that bond that we cannot, that we can't depart from. And that experience itself, in opening ourselves to a comfort zone, makes us a better people, because food is a platform to unite, to open our sensory acuity and our experiences. And most importantly, it allows us to have tolerance towards other cultures and other people, because no matter what your economic or cultural situation is, I think it's one thing to be stated: we all love good food and we all hate wasting food.
Absolutely. Well, I think what you've managed to do is using tech, connecting food with people and community. So the way I understand it is the app is available for both the users are the retailers, so the actual shop front themselves, and the consumer as well. So tell me a little bit about how YWaste works.
So anyone can download the app. You can pretty much download the app, sign up to the email, Apple or Facebook, and it will tell you the shops that are near you that have food that, end of the day or end of the cycle. So like, for example, a pie shop, it's not the end of the day, they cook it on Monday and they'll send a notification on a Wednesday. So it's basically an all day thing. In terms of a grocery store, some of the stuff that we're doing, you pretty much order and they deliver to your door. It's just the other customers who pay a bit more of a premium, they know what they pay a bit more what they get. And what your purchase is reducing food waste, because when they prepare in the kitchen, they prepare whatever's left over. So it's basically an online platform to help businesses to even forecast food waste, so that when they're cooking, they're not cooking for one batch, they're cooking for 4 batches. And your choice reduces food waste, ingredient choice, and also economies of scale, which is better for the business anyway. So that's the first thing that that I think we do as a platform. And the donation platform we work with Food Bank means that anyone who's suffering from food insecurity goes to a food bank charity, can register and get a code. It's like a single mother with 3 kids, and use the same platform and pick up from a similar outlet, which is also selling. And so there's no social stigma of a soup kitchen. They're going like any other commercial customer. And the whole platform of this is that it, and the social and digital impact of the business is basically tracked, so that a business can say, we've donated XYZ meal. It's not like, hey, we rescued 20,000 tomatoes and we put it here. Well, where did it go? How much was hoarded? Because when you look at the reality is that when you put all these containers of food in front of what we're seeing during COVID, a lot of hungry people, not actually the food goes to people in need. There's a lot of hoarding. There's a lot of other stuff, but by tracking digitally, it's a fair distribution system, and we know exactly who's getting what, and everything is transparent.
And from the consumer's point of view, as you said, that you can integrate a food bank relief food situation, but a person can just
pick
wander
up the
into
food
a
without the
shop.
social stigma.
Yeah, basically just have their smartphone. It's all been paid for, and it's ready to pick up.
Well, it's not being paid. It's not being paid for. They get a code which allows them to a certain entitlement of food. So that way, the businesses know the impact, what they're donating, what they're selling. They also don't have to worry about, because they can just pull up a report and say, we've sold this many meals and we've donated this amount of meals. And most importantly, the whole thing is seamless, because they don't have to wait in the soup kitchen. And because it's digitized, you don't have people waiting, which is one of the biggest reasons why food is not rescued. Like the food doesn't need to go to a warehouse and wait and hopefully for someone to come in, because you got logistics and everything. It's all streamlined in basically one process. And I think where technology has a big application is simplifying things. It's demystifying what actually, because there's no point of just rescuing food or putting there. What you want, the effect of people donating and all that, is to find out how many individuals nourished. Ultimately, that's why you want to help, is not for the image of helping, but to actually give you data on where the inefficiencies, where are the optimizations, and what is actually happening. So if we are getting hoarding, what do we need to do?
Yeah.
And by having a system through the food banks, and we've already implemented this overseas in Food Bank Indonesia without being there, is that it actually allows them to track what the impact is. And then you can actually track 1 meal per person, so that they're not saying, they're actually giving, because obviously charities are funded by donations, they're not saying, hey, we've just donated rescued 20,000 tomatoes. We're actually delivering. We can actually measure we nourish 1,000 people, families, and most importantly, I think at the end of the day, businesses know that they're keeping it localized and helping people in need.
And I mean, as you're saying about the data there, it means that the big picture stuff is that you can look at the data and say, you know what, there's certain physical locations, there's certain demographics, there's certain age ranges and all that kind of stuff. So we can actually begin to move towards a more sustainable food system with that kind of data that's collected.
Yeah, thanks. That's a really good question, Dean. I think what happens is you can definitely get some inferences with data. The donation platform, we do keep the people's privacy in what they are, but I think more importantly, it's a platform which allows that food to connect people who have excess food in real time with people in need. So it doesn't have to go through that unnecessary process, which is obviously resource intensive of transport. I still think the food banks are doing an amazing job, especially with large quantities and feeding Australians, considering the latest hunger report from Food Bank Australia indicates that 3 in 10 Australians are suffering from food insecurity. 68% of people during this pandemic have suffered, have reached out for some sort of food relief. And even before COVID, 1 in 7 people in the whole world were suffering from food insecurity. That's 821 million people. Yet, why are we throwing this food out? So the problem is it's never been not a lack of production. It's the need for a seamless, immediate connection, which is also catering for the needs of those who are hungry and those who are segmenting the market so that you can get there as quickly as possible. I think that's really been the biggest challenge, and that's basically what we're trying to achieve.
Absolutely. For me, I mean, I've been learning about the social impacts of food waste over the last decade and a half or so. So addressing where there's waste, what you're doing now is actually getting right into the heart of it and ensuring that it gets to those people that need it. So, I mean, for me, it was always take the food at the farm gate, for example, 40, 50, 60, sometimes 70% of the food that's grown doesn't even leave the farm gate. It gets to a distribution and there's further wastage there. A consumer will buy it, there's further wastage there. But you really are honing it down. For me, it was always a logistics issue. We are making enough food to feed everyone, but it's just getting it to those people that need it most. The way the way I see it is with the integration of this app, that will eliminate that that issue of logistics and really focus on the local community.
Yeah, I think the other way to look at it is that when people start focusing on that, like some people might just come for the deals, and which is understandable because everyone's in a tough, primary. But I think what happens is it's kind of like when you go to Moroccan soup bar in Melbourne, for example, or a CBD bakery, or I can mention a lot of other shops, and everyone else is bringing a plastic container. You're the odd one out. So you might not, with a lot of this sort of stuff, it's kind of like a keep house. When you're the only one doing it, you're the geeky one. But then when everyone else is bringing a plastic container,
you're the thought leader.
You kind of feel that. Yeah. So I think it's great that people talk about a lot of stuff, but it's action. Consumer behavior is basically measured by 2 things, which is basically process and change. So I think what YWaste does is it provides entry point to engage a lot of people, and slowly and I'll be upfront. Not every YWaste is a food waste. Not every YWaste customer is a food waste warrior initially, but when they come into the community and the businesses they might just look at a return, but when they see they're helping people, some of them take action, and look, I mean, I can't say that it's been the smoothest process. from day one. We've had a lot of pushback, a lot of people saying, a lot of naysayers, but I think at the end of the day, it's not about me or the other founder of YWaste, Ian, or it's not about the other people. Reducing food waste is it's a human need.
Yeah. Well, we've got people going hungry, and as you said before, those stats are alarming. We kind of think, hey, Australia, we're a lucky country. There's abundant food, but it's not the case. And we all know that during the recent times that there was a large uptake of donated food and food distribution. We've seen it across the US, the UK, Europe, and so on and so forth. But moving forward from 2021 onwards, when normalcy sort of returns, there's still going to be people out there who can't afford or can't get access to food. And you're part of that solution to addressing that. So.
Well, it's not me. It's the YWaste team. It's the app.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always about the team.
It's the food waste warriors who supported us in the community. I'm just one of the avatars because we take credit for taking action on believing something that we believe in. So I think I do think the economic fallout was going to be worse next year because a lot of people need to adjust to the new normal. So I think there will be some return to normal, but I think there'll be a new normal.
Yeah.
And I think some people won't adjust, but I think it's, now that everyone's being digitized, people are forced past their comfort zone. So they have to do things that they were never comfortable before.
Yeah, that's right. And first and foremost, it's our own health and wellness. Because without us, we can't take care of our friends, our family, our community, and it just moves outwards. So with many small moving parts of individuals who are working towards a larger picture, it actually will help repair. And you're right. I mean, we're in this situation now for probably the next 5 to 10 years. 1 to 3 years as an optimistic outlook. There's certainly going to be a lot of change moving forward, and there's going to be a lot of people who are missing out. And again, acknowledgement to the team at YWaste. Yeah, I know it's not all you. No one person is the solution to everything, and it's working together. And
I just pitched the last inning. That's all. And I think the other thing is that it's not about us. Like just while we started this call, I was on the phone with a young man who just started a business called Farmer's Pick in Melbourne. So that's on the app. So what he does is he actually goes to the farms and buys the ugly fruit that the farmers don't want. And then basically we do a farmer's box where they pay $60 because he works with logistics. So he delivers 2 boxes for $90, $99 instead of $120, which he sells out there. And what he's doing is he's actually reducing food waste at the farm level. And I think that's quite creative because, I think consumers are ready to buy a product which someone just ordered. That's why I was just trying to get the logistics there. So the consumers are willing to pay for a product which is actually considered not normal, ugly fruit, because they know it reduces food waste. But again, having someone to take the courage and say, let's do this. Similar like we did with YWaste.
Just connecting the dots, basically.
Yeah, and obviously us having a platform and having users who are there, and we can sort of help them reduce that end of day waste, because when he buys it, there's always going to be some stare, giving a bit of value to consumers, giving new customers. Another one is a chef who. I'm Taiwanese. There's also a Taiwanese chef, which there's a story that's been quite covered by SBS. His name is Omar. He was I think he designed he was one of the head chefs for the Aria group. He was actually designing, I think at one stage, the menu for Singapore Airlines for Mount Moran. So as soon as COVID, he ran out. Basically there was no work because all the restaurants are closed. So he started making meals basically from the kitchen, and then YWaste became a platform for him to do it. So he will serve his customers, and then he'll be able to, whatever's left over, because he's making his batches, he'll provide that 20% discount and plus deliver it exclusively on the YWaste platform. And one of the things that we started doing was, for example, this might sound a little bit squeamish to a lot of the audience, but for example, Dean, you're in Thailand. A lot of Thais eat, for example, like it's kind of like the British, like the blood pudding. So there's also the Taiwanese. We also have what we call the Taiwanese boi d'honneur, which is the pig's blood cake, which normally is food waste, which is being tipped out of the drain. So it's a delicacy which they put with rice, and they put with a bit of coriander and a bit of you know, I think peanut powder. And then what happens is we package it and we deliver it to door. And that way is another way, creative way, we create a premium product which reduces food waste, and it gives that cultural incentivity. And the YWaste becomes a platform for him to cook in batches and deliver to the customers. So I think the biggest thing about YWaste is that we connect with all these amazing people who are trying to make a difference in the way that we shape food and the way that we look at sustainability, not just through what we say, but what we do and the products that we consume. And we turn something that was, would have been ugly fruit being thrown out per se, or pig's blood that's been drained, into a product that people have appreciation for. And all those go into shaping the consumers as we look at the one critical point of looking food, not just as a product, but as a resource.
Yeah, exactly right. And I mean, fundamentally, there's always the opportunity for someone who has got some sort of food production, whether it's growing or at the coalface in a commercial kitchen, to say, you know what, I want to do something. Here is a platform that a chef or a business owner can say, you know what, I'm going to prepare an extra 10, 20, or it looks like I'm going to have an extra 10, 20 serves of a dish at the end of the day. Here's the platform that I can use to actually get that out to people that do need it. I think it's a wonderful thing, Donny.
And most importantly, and what we've seen through the last 3 years data, the merchants that give away more, like they send a push for free food, or at the end of the day, instead of throwing the bin, the community normally responds in droves, because like when you go and get a sandwich for $4 as a part of a deal, it's still chasing. But when the merchant does like a whole chicken meal for $6, whole chicken and 2 salads, you kind of go, they're obviously losing money on this. It's anyone with logic can see that. They're obviously, but they're willing to give it away at below cost. You're more likely to trust them and build a relationship, especially in the community. You're more likely to support them at full price. And ultimately, I think this is what it is that we live in such a world where it's all about the traditional thinking. For a lot of businesses, is all about commoditization at maximum price, sweet price point. I get all that. But what if you change the thinking to be, how do we optimize this? Because we have the delivery, we have everything. We optimize everything for different segments of the market. So the people who want to have fine dining food, which is food waste, we create one product. The people who don't mind what they eat last, that's cool. But you're consuming everything, and you're giving society the most little amount of environmental damage because there's no food waste. And also you're respecting the people who make the food, so all their efforts are not being wasted. And the third time, you open yourself to experiences, you make yourself a better person. That's I think is the circular economy effect. And also the businesses, they attract people who never would have walked into the shop. I think that's a circular economy effect, what we at YWaste are trying to create.
Yeah, exactly right. I mean, as you said about the Moroccan soup bar, it was something that you hadn't tried before, and now you're an absolute fan of it. And so the way I understand it, Donny, is originally Sydney-based. Of course, this is certainly global applications. There are now 150 plus Melbourne food businesses who are involved.
Yeah, about 200. We've like I said, we added a grocery box, premium pasta, zero waste pasta places. So, and obviously after Moral Playground, there's more conversation. So I think there'll be a lot more. There'll be a lot more coming from. We only want to work with established kitchens who are registered, so that this in accordance with food and safety laws, because we want to give customers a good experience. So. And hopefully now that Melbourne's returning to normal, that consumers will start to, because it went very, very quiet during COVID. So we hope that these people will come back and start supporting us once everything calms down. So I think Melbourne's always been more sustainable, and I'm just saying this up front, despite being a Sydney sider. So we want to be able to help businesses reduce more food waste and creating that. So I don't know. I think we're still 1 or 2 years away from critical mass, but I want the consumers to prove me wrong. I want the consumers to tell me that, you know what, yeah, you know, we're ready, and like, you know, it's not all talk. We're ready to, you know, use our shopping habits and, you know, and resolve this, because it's not, you know, it's what it's, you always got to watch people's feet, not what people say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's always the actions that make the difference. Well, for anyone that's interested in becoming part of the YWaste app, have a look at the links there. Definitely follow along the story. If you feel that your business is in a position to be able to give back, certainly get in contact with the team at YWaste. Donny, thank you so much for your time. And all I can say, Donny, is don't stop doing what you're doing. Anything that can connect community and food and address systematic issues is a welcome thing. And I can't wait to see how your story pans out over the next couple of years as you reach that critical mass.
No, actually, it's really funny. In February before COVID, there was a Taiwanese film crew which came and filmed a documentary, and that was being shown in April. And I only got they showed the promo link last weekend, so that's actually coming out in a couple of weeks, which will cover the whole story. But I think at the end of the day, it's not about my story. It's not about the other founder's story. It's about everyone's story, everyone's relationship towards food waste. And this platform, as I said in the documentary, the mini documentary, is not out my platform. It's not the founder of the platform. It's not the team's platform. It's everyone's platform. We created a platform for everyone to be able to have a platform to reduce food waste, so they can make a social, environmental, and economical contribution to society. For all the business owners who've supported us and all the business owners who want to join the Warm Waste Future, this is for all of you.
And fundamentally, there is enough food for all. So you're just connecting the dots and making that a reality. Hats off to you, Donny. Well done.
Thank you so much.
Well done. Absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Cup and cup. Thank you. Talk soon. Bye. Take